Okay, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going through my editing process for this picture. We're going to turn it from this to this. And we're going to be using Lightroom and Photoshop. So without further ado, we're just open the picture in Lightroom. So whenever I start anything, I usually just try and get the picture to line up and get my horizontals. And then I try and get my exposures. So I think that's a little bit dark, so I'm just gonna go a little bit on the white. So let's just go there. The highlights, when I'm doing a night neon picture, I usually go really down on highlights to capture some of these details and the signs. Try and get some details on the rim. So we're just gonna go shadows, maybe around 80, and because it's black, I'm gonna go a little bit there for the blacks. Let's go around like 60 maybe. And now it's a little bit too hot, so I'm just gonna go tiny bit on the exposure. Textures, just go a little bit clarity. You can get away with those because it's not focused on people's faces. This one usually works. You can get a lot of detail in there. It looks kind of cool. And because I wanted to get this kind of dreamy and get a cyberpunk feel, I'm gonna go a little bit less on the dehaze, because if you crank it up, it kind of looks too dark, and I want to give it a little bit of this unrealistic kind of glow. So we're just gonna go with the dehazing. And now it kind of looks too bright. It looks like it's out of a video game. Definitely this could be improved, but we're gonna do all of that in the tone curves. Before we do anything with the curves, I just wanted to go in the calibration, and I find it very appealing when I put the shadows all the way to -100. I would say on 99% of the neon pictures, it really helped get the colors to pop. And when you manipulate the colors at night, you don't have that light spectrum. It's all neons, it's all flat colored predetermined colors, RGBs. You're not dealing with a sunlight, so this one kind of gives it a little bit of dimension, especially when you go with the shadows. And the green really looks really good on night pictures. Okay, I wanted to play a little bit with that, and I think it's too hot, so I'm just gonna play around with that hue. Okay, so I want to flat out the green a little bit in here for the hue, because I want to add a little bit of warmth. Okay, there we go. Fine, let's play with that. Okay, I just gonna go back and forth and see which one I like, because I want it to look a little warm. I don't want to have this blue and red kind of neons, because this scene is a little bit bright, so I want to take advantage of that. I like the greens to look a little bit more green. And now we're just gonna give it that. Okay, so this is the before and after, right? I just give it a little bit of green shadows, and I think it looks really cool. Next thing is I want to manipulate the colors. So when it comes to the colors, you usually start with each. Like I like it to keep it this way. I'm not gonna change too much. For the orange, it kind of affects the crosswalk, so I'm just gonna go a little bit to give it a little bit red. And the yellows, oh, that looks good. So we're playing with the orange and teals right now. So far, you can see the colors are being coherent. We're gonna play a little bit with the saturations and the luminous. So the saturation, I want the orange to look really orange. Let's see, this, I don't want it to be too blue and overpowering, so I'm just gonna go a little bit, really tone it down in the aquas. Let's keep it the same. Yellows, I think yellows are okay. Purples, yeah, let's just keep the purples a little bit flat. And now the luminance kind of makes their skin look a little weird, and that too, it's too bright. Blues, oh, that's cool, so it adds a little bit of glow in here, so I'm gonna play with that. Purples, Okay, so I'm pretty much just gonna play with the stuff that plays with the background here. I think that's good enough. And split toning, I usually like to do, especially for the highlights, I like to give it a blue tone. But for this one, I'm actually not gonna add any tones to the highlights because I really don't want to change anything in the highlights right now. I just want to play a little bit with the shadows. Okay, so we're just gonna give it a tiny bit. Yeah, okay, just to get these color balanced out. I know you can go down and change it in here, but the thing with manipulation is when you do compounding colors on top of each other, they have a very different effect. So if you do let's say a shadow over here and correct it with something else on the top, it has a completely slightly different effect, and that's why I like it. Like, I'd rather put colors on top of each other and get a lucky experiment rather than just go and manipulate just one. And that's why you kind of, when you look at the presets, you can hardly like recreate the same preset twice because of all of that compounding. It's very complicated because all these values play onto each other, and that's what makes the color grading really work. And now this is my favorite part and the most crucial part of the edit. This is where you can get all of your color grading to look completely different, because without it, yeah, it looks okay, but you can add a little bit an extra contrast, you can add extra colors to shadows, you can select a lot more value, and with compounding it makes it really appealing. So for this one, we're just gonna go somewhere around here. I kind of want it to be a little bit bright, but I don't know, now I'm playing a little bit of contrast, so I'm just gonna just going down the contrast in here and select, because when I do the contrast everything looks a little bit glowy, so I want to keep that effect, and I'm gonna add the contrast later on with all of the tones, so I can just control what contrast I want with the curves, and that way I can have a very richer shadows. I don't want it to look like pure black. So we're gonna start with this one. Gonna give it a tiny little bit. Okay, something like that. That sounds good. So already this one starts to kind of pop. So we're gonna do the same thing with the reds. Let's see, I'm gonna play around with it and see where I like it, because I kind of wanted to give it a little bit of warmer touches. Yeah, it looks good. And see, that's where you can control your contrast. I don't want it to look too blue, so I'm just gonna be very precise with that. Just go somewhere around here. Okay, good. Now with the greens, now I'm going to the midtones. Okay, and we're gonna play around with the. Okay, we're gonna play around with the green. Okay, it looks good. And let's just give it a little bit. Okay, and now with the final, I kind of wanted a little warm. Let's just do something generic for now. Oh, cool. And I'm just gonna crush that blues a little bit, so we're gonna go with something like this. Okay, and now this looks amazing. I think if I go down with the vibrance, it will look a little bit better. There we go. So this is how I edited the picture in Lightroom, and it could be done the way it is, but I can take it a little step further and edit it in Photoshop, and I'll show you what you can do to enhance that look even further. You can either go into the picture and edit it in Photoshop, but when you do that, you actually edit the raw image, and it's very taxing on the computer. For the sake of this video, my edit on Photoshop is not really substantial because I've already done all of my color manipulation in raw, so I don't really need that raw capability to do all of that in Photoshop. So I'm just gonna export it, and then I'm gonna launch Photoshop. So now that I have the picture in Photoshop, and I'm using it as a JPEG. The one thing I want to do is I want to enhance the car and separate it a little bit from the background to make it pop. So what you can do is you have this trick where you can create a new layer and make the layer to overlay, and select your brush and select the soft round brush. Let's just go somewhere like that, and then make your opacity like around 10 or between 10 to 15%, and select either white, but I like to go a little bit off white, and just brush on the car. And then for the black, just go a little bit off black and brush around the car to make it pop, and around the buildings. And now you can see like before and after. The car is already okay. And because I kind of want my layers to be separated, I'm just gonna do another overlay and see if I can play around a little bit with the light and everything that's lighting up, all my points of interest. So I just added a tiny bit of that in here, and I'm gonna add a little bit of dark around the car, and now kind of manipulated how that light is coming over here, and there you go. And one last touch, I'm just gonna go to linear dodge, and I'm gonna select a little bit of teal bluish color, make my, there we go. And one last thing is to go here and do selective color, and this is a final touch to manipulate the colors further, and just go around each color and see what it manipulates and change it. Okay, don't care about this one. Greens, not much, just the lights over here. Magentas is gonna be the back, so it's not much. And now neutrals. Just gonna, and when you add a little bit of colors, don't add too much. Okay, now that looks dope. I'm just gonna decrease it a little bit, and now I'm putting everything in a group, and now you can see the before and after, right? And if you want to go a little bit less, so we're just gonna go like 70% for the whole group, and there you have it. And that's how I edit the picture in Photoshop. If you like the look of this preset, I'm actually giving it away if you sign up on my newsletter. I have the link in the description below. And if you like this video, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It really helps the video a lot, and it helps the channel grow. And if you're interested on which lens I used to take this picture, you can check this video right here. And I'm gonna be making more of these videos. So if you have any suggestions, or if you have pictures that you want me to edit, send them straight to me. I would love to work with you. And until then, I will see you in the next one.